Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all on this rainy, cold, no snow morning. But we are so glad that you are here. It's a very special day today. I'm very excited to have our dear brothers and sisters in Christ, Mr. Chris and Amanda Hughes, and their three sweet girls with us today to share what God is doing at Springs of Life Camp. As you know, we support them. Our kids go to camp there, and we're just very excited about what God is doing. We are in the process of trying to help them, and you guys have given financially to that project, and we're just excited about seeing what God's going to do. So, with no further ado, we're going to go to the Lord in prayer here in just a moment, but I would like to tell you at the end of the service today, Jason and some of the ushers will be coming around with the offering plate for the normal Sunday school offering, and also if you want to give to Chris and Amanda, just place it all in the offering plate there. But make sure that you designate what you want on your envelope there, okay? So that's very important, but like I said, that'll be at the end. And so with no further ado, let's go to the Lord in prayer and ask God's blessings upon our time. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you so much, Lord. Lord, for just your blessings, God, for your love, your grace, Lord, for allowing us to be here this morning, God. God, I'm excited that it was just rain. And God, the snow didn't come, and we didn't have to cancel or anything like that. God, I just praise you for that we're able to be here today. And God, I just pray now that, Father, you would bless our Sunday school hour. God, you would bless Chris and Amanda, Father, as they will come and share what, God, you are doing at Springs of Life and how you are moving, how you're blessing, how you're changing lives through that ministry, God. And Father, help us to grasp what we need to do as followers of you, and God, and see how we can help to further the kingdom work. Because Lord, it's all about your kingdom. It's not about us, but it's all about your work. And so, Father, I pray that you bless the ones that cannot be here for whatever reason it may be. God, we just praise you. We honor you. We love you now in Jesus' name. Amen. Chris, come on.
Good morning, everybody. Man, I am telling you what, thank you so much for praying for our family and our ministry up there. You guys have just, again, bits and pieces. Hey, Scotty. Bits and pieces just in our short time being here at Springs of Life Camp. It's just been really remarkable, and you guys have been along for the journey in lots of different capacities, and that's what we're here for this morning, is to give you guys an update as far as what's going on for the last couple years and stuff. But before we turn things over, I'm going to cue up a video in just a second. Andy's going to hit the play button. And I know everybody, it's Sunday mornings, and we're coming and excited about church and stuff. And just a word that the Lord gave us this morning, just in my quiet time this morning, was John chapter 9, verses 1 through 3 or 4 here. It says, "And he passed by, and he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, 'Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?' And Jesus answered, 'It wasn't that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him.'" And of course, again, I just got to see a show of hands. Who's familiar with Springs of Life Camp? Who's been to Springs of Life Camp in the past? Wow. There is a lot of us. Man, that is fantastic. Wow, that's so cool. Well, you guys know just over the years, and again, if you've read in a little bit on our website, we're starting to send some things out in the mail that tells a little bit about the history of the camp, and there's lots of different narratives over the years, and it very indicative of what many, even my life became. You know, we can paint this facade on a Sunday morning and, look good. We can say the right words in places, but deep down, when you begin to peel back the layers, and that's, again, really what the Lord's asked us to do there at Patrick Springs, to really peel back the layers and expose it all the way down to the core and fix it to the root of the things. And like I said, there's not looking back. It's not, any one person's sin that resulted in the thing. It's that the Lord might be glorified in this and them. So the video that Andy's going to hit the play button in 2 seconds here, this video is just a snippet of a series that we actually did last year around this time that just talks about the journey to the new Springs of Life Camp, queuing up to the Carpenters for Christ. Sorry. The Life Lodge here in Patrick Springs, Virginia.
Where we're watching the Lord move at extremely fast paces, that we're likely to see something happen right before your very eyes. And just like that, we're almost ready to have a place for the carpenters to sleep at next week.
That's exactly right. Now, this room historically has been the dining hall that feeds up to 200 children in the context of summer camp. But that first week of June, when the Carpenters for Christ are coming, this is going to be converted to a barracks that's going to sleep up to 100 of these carpenters through the entire week.
And like you saw before in our previous video, we're going to have their dining hall up in the gym. So they're already set up and ready to eat when they get here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've had just in the last 24 hours, so much has gotten done, as you can see here. But in addition to this, also what's going on up at the dormitory with the floors being poured and concrete going in.
Additionally, in the last 24 hours, we brought in another $2,500.
Whoa, yeah, $2,500 added to the already $6,000 puts us at
$91,500 needed to meet our goal before the carpenters get on property.
Sounds like a really big number, and it kind of is, but when you stretch that across multiple people that extend and claim to be the body, then I'm telling you, it's going to happen so quick. And the Lord's proven that power time and time again since this journey's really been kicking off.
Absolutely. He will willingly give to a willing heart. So if you are feeling led to give or support, and whether it be working here on property, make sure you're here, any of those ways, please feel free to reach out to us.
And at the same time, in addition, leading up to that, this Saturday is our very last Saturday that we're going to be pushing really hard to get the final touches put on the ground here as we prepare. And in addition to that, if you're in the area, plan to come visit with us over at the concessions. Bring a Creekside coffee over to Dominion Valley Park for the Gospel Blue Black Press. And on that note, we just thank you so much again for your time and patience and with us and watching these videos and things like that. And we look forward to catching you up on the next one.
Thanks for your prayers.
So just to show you a little bit, I mean, that was a 3-minute video. That's part of, oh my goodness, like a 12 video series that we did last year as we were queuing things up for the Carpenters for Christ missions trip. And just again, to show you some of the spots like in video format, and we're going to show you a slideshow just a little bit and just dig down into how much has been accomplished there at Springs of Life Camp. Before we do that though, we've asked, our friend Vicki Day to come up and just share just a brief testimony about Springs of Life Camp and how it's impacted her in her life. Thanks, Vicki.
Good morning. I'm the alumni of the week, I guess, for Springs of Life. Sherry Couch was supposed to speak, and she's sick, so we hope she feels better soon. But the verse that I read this morning from John was from John 16, 22 and 23, I think. And in that day you shall ask me nothing. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask and you shall receive, that your joy may be full. And I tell you, Springs of Life Camp is full of joy, and they just need money. My memories of the camp were going back in the 60s. A pastor friend of my dad, Burl Washburn, bought the property and added things to it and redid, and I don't know where all that money came from. I was too young to think about it back then, but we had some fantastic times. There were pastors from Virginia, from North Carolina, and a few from stragglers from West Virginia that came, and they brought their church kids in, and when we got there, we didn't know what to expect the first week, but oh my goodness, we made lifelong friendships. Chris and I were talking before of at least 2 couples that I know that I knew at camp, I knew before camp, and they found their lifelong spouses at camp. There were many missionaries that were called to the field in our chapel services, people that were called to full-time service, whether it was pastor, lay person, just, so many of us surrendered our lives to the Lord there. I was telling Chris, the chapel that's there now is not the one that I was in. The chapel that I was in was actually down. It's kind of at the bottom of the hill before you go up to the swimming pool. And it was built over the creek. And around in the back is where the canteen was, where that was real fellowship time, when you could go and get your snacks and sit around and just have fun making friends, new friends. It was a great time. And I am so excited for the burden that Chris and Amanda have to restore the camp. And I know there are challenges out there. One of my friends that married a girl I went to church with Daniel Peters, and I don't know if you're going to share that video or not, but he has a challenge out. He says if we had $500,000, we could finish this, and we could have it ready by summer for the kids to come. That would be a great thing. And you know, the Lord laid on my mind when I was thinking about what to say, and nothing came, you know, and I didn't worry about it because I always have something to say. But last night I thought, well, if it was my grandchild or my child, what would that be worth to me? What would that be worth to you? If your grandchild, if the soul of your child or your grandchild depended on what you gave, what would it be worth to you? So think about that. And maybe we've sent some money for paint and fixing walls and that kind of thing, but there's a lot more needed. So listen to what God tells you to do, because Springs of Life is full of joy.
Thank you, Vicki. That couple that she's talking about, there's actually a couple of those couples. One of those couples that she referenced there was actually my youth pastor, actually grew up to be my youth pastor up in Richmond, Virginia. Talking about Burl. This is my wife, Amanda, by the way. Hey. So where did all the people come from? And talking about Burl and your father, and just really dipping through the network of people of the church, capital C, through the power of the local church. And that's exactly what he's doing now. We're going to go through our slideshow, beginning with our section 1. Amanda's going to just kind of help us tell the story. Before we do that, do you have anything you want to say?
I did not have the pleasure of going to camp as a child, so I didn't actually experience camp until our first year there. This is our 8th year there now, and so it has completely changed my life just being an adult at camp. And my children have found their salvation in the Lord there at camp as well, and so I am super grateful for the ministry there. And it's not the ministry that we do, it's what God does through the ministry, and he will empower you as anybody who's willing to come on property and do the service that he's called us to. And so it's a beautiful thing for sure.
So all the work that we're going to be kind of flipping through here, we're going to begin with the grounds work. We've got a couple slides that actually show that. You guys can see there, this is the sidewalk. We're actually looking from the perspective of the new chapel building right there. So that's facing down towards the dining hall. Just on the other side of those trees right there, on the other side of that skid steer over there, that's actually where the old chapel was, down by the creek down there. And we'll probably have some aerial shots there in just a second. Let's go ahead and advance to the next slide there. Now, you'll see pictures of the guy that she was talking about, Daniel Peters. We do not have that video to show you this morning, but we do. We've got the YouTube videos, and we've got all the QR codes and all that kind of stuff to access it if you'd like to, which, again, we'll send all that out by email. But this is just one of the examples. So again, you've heard it, Springs of Life Camp. We're at Spring Road in Patrick Springs, Virginia. So that word, you guys aren't unfamiliar with the whole Springs, Mineral Springs stuff up this way. What we actually did right there, part of what happened actually to the property was just years and years and years of decomposition because of the water kind of things. And this is just showing that we actually buried just around that one building, around 1,200 feet of pipe around that building to get the water off of it completely. Let's go to the next slide there. And right here you see some examples of the sidewalk work that got accomplished. Again, right there in the middle, that's from the other side, looking from the bottom of the dining hall up to the chapel there, and we've got some other slides in that. But just in the concrete work right there, just as an example, it'd been almost 30 years since we had seen a building inspector there at Springs of Life Camp. Again, just kind of held together by duct tape gets a bad rap, so we'll leave that out of it. But anyways, a lot of really good intentions. But one of the first things the inspectors said when they started to show up on the scenes, we wanted to make sure everything was being done in the right manner and all that kind of stuff. And we've got a couple guys, specifically Daniel, that's just got this superior level of quality work that we're doing. And when you come to camp, you'll see that in just about everything there. But they said you've got cracked sidewalks, and we got to fix that. And this is an example of that. So all that to say is there were some things that we were planning to get into as we were restoring the camp, but then there were some other things that we were not planning to get into, and that's one of them. All right, next slide. Roof work, we walked into metal roofs on top of these buildings. It was fantastic. It sounded great when it rained. The problem was, underneath of the metal roofs, we found up to 7 layers of shingles on top of these really, really, really old buildings. This building in specifically has got foundation that's over 100 years old. And we had just, when was it, 2017, the snowstorm?
It was 17. We had 20 inches of snowfall, and then 18 was when we actually replaced the roof. So we were super thankful that nothing actually collapsed during that time. However, we had a lot of leaks, so you knew it when it was raining, especially inside.
Used every pot in the entire camp, Vicki, to catch water in the place. It was remarkable, but hey, it's the life. So, all right, next slide there. So just looking at the exterior, that's an example. Of course, again, you can imagine with all the weight, with all the just the structural things, there was some pretty extensive exterior damage that was done to the place too. And of course, again, if you spent any time up there in the last, we'll just say within the last, well, not so much the last 3 years, but even before that, the last 10 years or so, you just kind of saw the place kind of decomposing right before our eyes. Let's go to the next one. Just kind of fly through this. You see, like right here, we actually had to rip out an entire wall down there where it had actually been rotted through because of some of the, not just moisture damage, there was actually some pretty nasty things. You want to talk about that?
We did have some plumbing issues, so a lot of the stuff that people said was the smell of camp when they showed up on property was not actually the smell that we intended for, but we didn't actually know what that smell was until we ripped the floors out and found where all the plumbing under the hotel rooms had actually collapsed, and so there was actually nothing connected underneath there, so
yeah,
to pipe it out.
We'll just stop right there. So just use your imagination. So we, again, there were a lot of things that we weren't expecting to find that we found. And just like I said, just kind of going back to, our introduction, it just kind of, on the outside, things appear one way, but when you begin to expose more layers, you start to find other things. So let's go to the next slide, see where we're at there. Yeah, so again, just another right there in that hallway. You see right there in the middle, we've actually got 3 structures kind of combined into one. Again, that's the back side of that dining hall. And of course, again, where there was no, you see there was no gutters in that picture and stuff. The water just kind of poured down and then up under into the building. So even in all of this, since fixing the water issue itself in that building, the Lord's just really, just underneath of the dining hall, we freed up another, 3,600 square feet of usable space that was basically rendered condemned up until this point. Again, all approved by the county inspectors there. Let's keep rolling. So on the backside, you see kind of the new product there. There were, again, parts of the backside. This is the backside of the hotel structure. If you've been there, that's down on the main building. There were parts of it, if you were to, just lean up against it, there was a really good possibility it could have pushed that entire wall in. So
So what this is showing is actually additions that were made. So no, it wasn't necessarily an improvement to what was damaged, but it was an addition to help improve just the state of the hotels in general. We added a building to the back. So we had before, the water heaters were actually housed in a couple of the hotel rooms. The electrical was inside some of the hotel rooms. So if the breaker tripped or something, we would actually have to go into somebody's room to actually untrip the breaker. So what we did is we actually, because we had it all gutted out, we moved it, we built a building or a lean-to on the back side of the hotels. We did this also on the back side of the dorm. So now the water heaters are housed in that room, the electrical's housed in that room, water cutoffs and such housed in that room, so that when we have to do maintenance on the buildings, it doesn't interfere with the people that are staying on property.
That was a huge one with the water access and stuff. It's common in our homes now, and a nice maintained current building, up-to-date building or whatever. But if we had a toilet or something like a pipe that was busted, we literally had to kill the power to that entire building, dining hall, kitchen, everything. It was we thought that's the way it was supposed to be. That wasn't the way it was supposed to be. Let's keep rolling, Andy. So just a couple updates. This is the back side, kind of comparing and contrast. The top left, that's the back of the dining hall, but the one down here is the back of the dormitory. So in the back of the dormitory, we just, again, fairly recently started to pop into that one. And some of you guys, again, have been a part of that in a very intimate way. But that right there is more or less a lean-to that's been on the back of that. But you could almost live in that, but that's going to be a mechanical room for the dorm in the same way. We were part of that bad history. 2009, 19, this was the very last week that we actually had summer camp, got a phone call that the lights were flickering in the dorm. So the dorm, again, to put it in perspective, 200 bunk beds, there's a lot of kids in there, okay? So it was, I go up there, it wasn't unheard of to hear crazy things like that. We knew we had problems. But anyways, I went up there and I went to the breaker box, and the breaker box was in the center of the building. If anybody remembers any of that in the dorm, it was in the center of the building, and it was right in between. You had the bathrooms on the left, the shower rooms on the right, and the way that it's set up is 2 floors, so it's kind of right in the gully. And like she was saying, in the way of the drainage and stuff, there were some pretty bad problems. Well, long story short, I went to check on the breaker box, and man, there was water actually that was pouring out from the second floor where the kids were actively taking showers right over top of the electrical breaker box. I looked down, and I was standing in about an inch of water right there. So again, lots of deadly combinations right there. Again, we knew we had problems, but that was like, what? And then next thing you know, the Lord provided COVID. Sorry for that. That was for us.
But even in through all of that, we can see that the Lord's provision
Amen.
has always been good, because as we were going through the breakdowns of the buildings, tearing them down and everything, or the insides out and everything, we would hear, the workers in separate rooms going, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this building hasn't burned down 8 times already." Finding live wires inside the walls and stuff, and it's good intentions over all the years, but it's handyman work that just wasn't up to code, and just stuff that we just needed to do to get by and stuff. But the Lord has been good in all of those provisions.
The general theme to that, just to touch on that for just a second, it was always, hey, we're going to get it done for right now to get through the week of camp, and then we'll come back and fix it the right way. Well, when we leave camp and we just get so caught up in our circumstances of day-to-day life, that part never came back around. In many cases, not in all cases, but we're seeing that happen in a big way. Let's keep rolling. So there again, hey, there's my buddy Daniel, the smiling guy, right? He's hard to see, but anyways, that's actually a new structure that, again, some of you are unfamiliar with. Right behind the new chapel up there, there's a huge open-air gymnasium that we've actually got plans to close in, climate control, and maybe even add a locker room up there. Think along the lines, yeah, you guys are Awana here. You guys do Awana here, yeah? Are you guys familiar with like Awana Olympics and the Bible quizzes, or is that too far back? I grew up in Awana. I was, anyways. We just picture in the same context that we're talking about with summer camp, bringing groups of churches together, but at the same time, through the Awana programs, and we like to use that as a place to bring the kids together, put a game circle in, and all that kind of stuff. And anyways, we've also added water up there. This was really big for Sherry. That water actually gives us an immediate access point to fill up water balloons. So, just saying. All right, let's keep going. So office and storage room, there was a lot that was done on the inside of the main dining hall. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. This just kind of shows you, remember, just all the water damage as a result from the roof, the swelling and contracting, the water dropping everywhere. That's literally the top of the floor, or top of the ceiling above the storage room when we started to peel back the layers. Next slide. Just a few more of that. Hey, down at the bottom right, that's actually a flashlight. That is showing you right there where the floor has actually separated from the sill plate. The floor had actually dropped about 7 inches, and literally you could see the dirt underneath of it. There were critters coming in and out, and just a sad thing. Again, just another image of where we're at. Go ahead and do the next one. So that shows literally getting all the way down to the stud, and you saw in some of the videos before, or the previous video, you saw a lot of that work actually going down. This actually, believe it or not, this is the original kitchen before the kitchen was added on. So back when Burl was there, this was that original kitchen. We actually found the cast iron pipes and the plumbing under that, and some of that wasn't capped off.
You can see on the wall, on the back wall there, that's actually where the chimney was. So there was actually a stove there in the on that side.
Yeah, all right, next slide.
Again, finished product. You see also we're adding insulation and stuff like that. I mean, just really going to just an over-the-top level just to make sure. Again, the thing for us when we got to Springs of Life Camp, again, we're super excited about what the Lord's going to do in the next season, but our entire vision was to make sure that this place is, again, restored in a way where the next ministry team, the ones who come behind us, will walk into a seamless situation and not have to really overcome some of the things that we've had to.
Well, we also desire to serve year-round, and so because it was predominantly a summer camp, it wasn't actually insulated at the point to be able to even have people, and many of the rooms on property didn't even have heat. So this is going forth. We are now making it so that we do have the warmth in the wintertime, and then of course the actual air conditioning, because we didn't have a lot of air conditioning in some of the rooms too. It was just windows, storm windows, and stuff like that. So this gives us the ability to really serve year round.
All right, next slide.
All right, and that's finished product of that room. You see the floors there.
Looks like kind of like the fellowship hall now, doesn't it?
Yeah, anyways, it's a great place, a nice meeting space, and, just, again, we'd also like to, again, serve the community around us.
And we'll touch a little bit more on that. Let's go to the next slide. Just want to protect our time here. 9:45? Okay. Dining hall. So this is the big one. This is a before picture. Just a lot was done there too. We actually found a couple layers of drop ceiling in there. Each one just as rotten as the next. You kind of see the trend here, so we won't harp on that. Let's go to the next slide. This is again more before pictures, and you see it's really pretty as it was. Again, that's the outside of it. When we began to peel back the layers, go to the next one. The next one, you kind of start to see the same thing. There was, in all fairness though, I mean, some of that was, we don't really, a little backstory with us, we're not construction people. We both came from actually the banking world, credit union, the credit union world, and just that was our background. So when it came down to things like, we would walk in, and we walked in at a time, we got there in 2015, 16, we actually moved into the hotel rooms up there. And again, it was at a time where Springs of Life Camp, once upon a time, had up to 100 churches like you guys that were supporting and fellowshipping and maintaining the place and stuff like that. And of course, again, we got there was down to 4, maybe 5, and there was less than 100 kids for the entire year experiencing the ministry. That's, again, 365 days, the entire year. So, again, it was just falling apart in shambles. And there were some mornings, like after a big rain, where the drop ceiling would actually literally drop down and detach from the top part. There were parts of it, just figuring it out, where we got on a ladder, she would hold it up with a mop stick, and I'd get up with some zip ties or pipe cleaners, whatever I could find. It's a big crafty thing. Anyways, keep going.
So that's the new dining hall. So that was actually set up, I think that was actually set up for the Seder meal, wasn't it?
It was for the Seder meal.
So again, we have just a real interesting part. We'll have an opportunity to talk about that later on. But you see there the ceiling, we've got LED lights, we've got, as far as climate control stuff, we did some energy efficient mini split things. And again, all of the stuff that you're seeing, and keep in mind, it's from one perspective, you've got the retail side of things. Again, the Lord has really just equipped people. I mean, just again, thinking about the kids that came in and out of the property over the years, they all grew up to do something. And in many cases, that's what you're seeing here. The church, the power of the capital C coming together to accomplish this thing. But really beautiful facility. It feels good in there. All right, next slide. That says we're on 21. Alumni Central, so that's the meeting room next to it. Go ahead and do the next slide there. Just again, this is part of the main building. This is one where we use that for like a junior chapel, for a craft room. And go on to the next slide there. And you can see how that one's kind of fleshed out, and it kind of looks kind of like the dining hall, just an extension of that. One of the things that we did add right there on the left-hand side, we added a little kitchenette inside of that to give us, think along the lines of like continental breakfast when we do like family camp weeks, or if you want to keep your special coffee creamer, coffee creamer and stuff like that in there. And anyways, it'll still be a craft room and all that, but at the same time, the dual purpose is a lot of this work that you're seeing now is going down. Our family was living in the hotel rooms there, and part of Daniel's vision behind that, we were using a microwave and a little, a little hot warmer thing. Daniel was like, we could very easily add this thing in there and give you guys a little kitchen while we were waiting on the big kitchen to get done. So
again, that's a whole sub-story in itself, how the Lord provided. Just really remarkable. All right, next slide.
Let's see. Oh, hey, the kitchen. Speaking of the kitchen, so that is just one picture of what that looks like. The kitchen was built in 1974, I believe, and it had with 0 updates and stuff. And go ahead, advance to the next slide, and that'll just kind of show you the big picture there. Same kind of thing there. We found, when you're there, go one more picture. Yeah, that's good. So that's what it looks like as of, I guess, 2 weeks or so ago. In the last 2 weeks, there's you can see that beam right there in the middle. That beam actually was supporting the weight of the ceiling, and it stopped actually at the roof. That beam never actually went to the earth itself, so the earth wasn't supporting it. So structurally speaking, it wasn't really pretty. We actually found that main support beam, and again, also dropped about 7 to 8 inches. And just when we pulled back the layers on that one, we found that we had to spend close to $20,000 just in engineering and structural kind of stuff to make sure that part of the building was going to still stay attached to the main part. But anything you want to add to that?
Well, what we didn't show here is underneath is what we did is in that $20,000 that he just mentioned was, we did dig some footers down in the workshop beneath and added steel beams to be able to hold that building up. Very much secure now. So what the work that's actually been done over the last 2 weeks that you can't see in this picture also is we got a new hood system. So before our hood, our vent to pull out the exhaust and stuff did not work. So in the entire time that we've been there, it has never worked. I'm sure it worked at some point in time, but because we had been grandfathered into all the coding and inspections and stuff like that, that wasn't something that they checked on us. So they're very much, again, showing God's provision in that, we could have had some major issues in the kitchen not having an actual, exhaust pulling that heat out. But again, no heat and air in that kitchen either. So there were winters where we could just put our milk on the counter and it would stay cold. It actually froze a couple of times sitting on the counter because it was so cold in the kitchen. But that's not going to be a concern any longer because this new hood system is going to come with heat and air, fresh air intake and everything. So it will be state of the art. So we're very excited for that to be able to provide.
So multi-purpose, again, it's going to be in the context of summer camp, feeding up to 200 kids.
Plus some during the weeks. But of course, again, we have just, very intentionally, the Lord's opened up doors for us to get involved in our community in a really big way. So we've got some really big plans there in the way of equipping some smaller churches with the power and ability to, again, like with their VBSs and help support there and all those kind of things. So it's big. Let's go to the next slide and take a look at the hotel rooms. Go one more. That's an old picture of what they looked like before. They're here again, just in the same way that we found multiple layers on the roofs. We found the same thing on the floors. We got down to our very last room, hotel number 7, there at the end. And there was actually a story about 2013 or so. There was a pastor, and if he's watching, I'm sorry, Jeff, but he was a big boy. And he actually was, in the restroom and actually fell right through the floor sitting on the commode and came back still the next year. So that was kind of cool.
He's still around.
Yeah,
he's still
he sure
around.
is. We love
So
him.
yeah, he's
We
very
love him.
supportive.
But anyways, just to kind of, again, just to show you, we found 7 layers of flooring in there. There was ceramic tile, there was a laminate, there was hardwood, there was another ceramic. Just, it was crazy. But the very bottom layer was, it wasn't as nice as this, but that old school red sanctuary church carpet. Can you? Yeah, and it was just, just nasty saturated. But let's go to the next slide there. Still makes me sick thinking about it. But there's, again, you can see it literally. We literally had to, every board, every pipe, every piece of electrical, just, again, so much more. By now you're probably asking, goodness gracious, why didn't y'all just tear the building down? For goodness sakes, and start over. Well, to be totally honest with you, it would have changed the story significantly. The way this thing was rebuilt, it's rebuilt in the way, and we were talking to Vicki just briefly this morning. We were, very intentionally trying to restore it as it was. Even the layout of the rooms and stuff. Go ahead to the next slide. Even the layout of the rooms, we're trying to retain the integrity just again for that, just that, I don't want to use the word nostalgic feel, but you know what I'm saying with that. It's very familiar, and that familiarity is a big speaking point to bring people back to, I guess, to a simpler place in time where the Lord is able to use that in a real intimate way. Absolutely. But you see, this is the finished product of the hotel rooms there. Really nice. We've gotten some really cool compliments on this thing, and just everything has got a story. And I could spend another 30 minutes just talking about all the little details of this, but rather, why don't you guys just come on up and spend the night with us and experience yourself. Go to the next slide here. The restrooms in the hotels, again, we just kind of touched on that. Click on that. That's exposed to just one of the rooms as we were peeling back the layers. Go one more, and that's the finished product of those guys. Again, in Daniel's words, he's like, man, he's a country guy, I love him. He said, man, it's going to be like the Taj Mahal in here. It's like, oh, we don't want that. It's still camp. But man, it's really, really nice, really nice. And again, for somebody who's lived in every version of the hotel rooms, through the entire journey, this is by far the best version of the hotel rooms there. So what's the purpose of the hotel rooms? Like I said, go ahead to the next slide and we'll talk about the dorm. The dormitory is where all the kids go. And again, we shared a little bit about the condition of that one. The hotel rooms, think in the context of camp. We've got the dorms reserved for the kids, or think even bigger families when we start to do family camps again and stuff like that, or men's groups or however. But down in the hotels, that's where we've got, your guest speakers or your pastors, your game directors, your music people, and the nurse, right? The camp nurse, and things like that. Or at the same same time, think marriage retreats and, think along these lines. And again, keep in mind, this is your camp. So, if you if you have a special idea, come to us. Family reunion, whatever. All within that context. So go to the next slide. We'll take a look at the hotels. This is a before picture. Again, it doesn't look so bad on the outside, but again, go to the next one. And then you start to peel back the layers. And we found, again, of course, the same kind of stuff up there. Already told you about the water stuff. Go to the next slide. Right there, we literally had it pulled back. Every pipe, every piece of electricals had to been upgraded. Going back to the thing that she said about the grandfather piece of it. Next slide. So that is right there, compliments of 80s. You guys know 80s? Nobody? Anyways, this is, you guys had a huge hand in this. And this actually worked. The drywall work was finished this week, just what, 3 days? Tuesday of this week. So to follow that up, last year around June, we actually had a group called, was anybody listening to the Carpenters for Christ? You heard about the Carpenters for Christ missions trip that we had. That was a really big one. It was a week last year in June. We had guys, up to 100 of these trades guys. Springs of Life Camp was their missions destination. Some of them were plumbing guys. Some of them were, praise the Lord, drywall guys. And those drywall guys actually taught all the other guys how to do drywall that week. And that's actually what happened. And like I said, this is the project that most recently you guys have had a very intimate role in. You guys were able to finish up the entire floor, the upstairs floor of the dormitory. That's huge. That is a total of 8 rooms. That's a total of 2 bathrooms, and then 2 shower rooms. And we are ready. This is where we're going to be kind of focusing on getting the numbers together for painting this area. Now, the same crew that you guys actually provided for us, we developed a really good relationship with those guys. Thank you for those guys. They're just super nice. We, connected on a family level, and just, it was really neat. And all that to say is, in that, they are more or less now immersed in the story as well. And that opened up the doors for some other conversations, specifically as it relates to the downstairs part of the dorm. And they've come back to us with a quote on that. And again, it's oh my goodness, it's miles below some of the other things that we've gotten.
But even more so, what that does for us is that gave us the opportunity to minister to the guys that you called on our property. And we know that one of them is not a believer. One of them was, but now we also have the opportunity to get their kids to camp too. So think about the reach that y'all are having just in being involved in the means that you are here. You're reaching way farther than just your church or just our camp. It's going way far.
So you think about how many construction sites can you go on to, and you hold hands with the guys while you're praying over your meal and stuff. I mean, just an example of the things that we get to do. It's beautiful. Let's go one more slide there. So this is the hallway. Again, it's a huge building. I think it was like 3,000 or 4,000 square feet or something like that in the entire thing. One more slide. It's a swimming pool. You guys know how much work goes into a swimming pool, and just imagine one that has gone untouched for, 3 years now. That's a whole separate thing in itself. Again, when you step back and look at the big picture, when we got there, it was a huge victory and again, a huge, and I don't want to say victory, the Lord knows exactly what He's doing, and has known the entire time. He gives us exactly what we need when we need it. But when we got there, it was big for camp to receive like $500 for a donation. And just in the last, since 2019, we've seen, we're starting to, again, as we start to look back and really pull all the strings together, I mean, He's done nearly $1 million worth of work to this place. That's, again, between, the folks giving of their time, giving of their resources, their energy. I mean, just all that stuff. It's so big. But this is, again, another one of those projects. So in the way of the timeline, that's what we've got for the slideshow, and we'll just kind of kick into another gear here. In the way of the timeline for this place, again, we are just watching things happen at an incredibly fast rate. The Lord's doing that. I mean, again, we'll get a phone call and just stuff starts happening, or somebody will show up or move to the area, or just something random. Again, it's not us, it's the Lord. Even down to that swimming pool project, it's beautiful. But as far as the timeline goes, our goal is to have, again, you saw it, one complete floor done by around April-ish. As it looks right now, there's a really good possibility the entire shebang is going to be done by April. And what that'll do is that'll put us in a position to be able to sleep people, a lot of people. And yeah, that means we're going to have summer camp again this year. We've been down since, again, 2019, just, again, very intentionally to focus on this stuff. And, again, not to harp on it, but, again, have to harp on it. It's not by one church. It's not by one group, not by one association. I mean, it is truly the body moving together to accomplish this really, really huge thing. And, again, the story that comes along with it is just beautiful. So as far as the kitchen goes, like we said, a lot of work's gone just this last 2 weeks. That's really putting us on track to have the kitchen completed by mid-March, and in turn it would be completely inspected by April, which means Joe's going to be talking to you guys about our banquet that we're going to be having all you guys up so we can eat good and just relish in what the Lord's done up there through us. So just really cool stuff. As far as some of the other things that's coming down the pipeline, of course, again, you guys have heard about day camp. If you haven't, just stay tuned with some of the announcements that's going on up there. And if there's an opportunity that you're out in our neck of the woods, just reach out to us. We'd love to show you around. Group, family, whatever that looks like. We've got some papers that we'll put on a table somewhere here that you guys grab at your leisure that tells a little bit more about the history and goes a little bit more in depth. But before we start to wind up, do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh, we're just so grateful. We are. It's been a humbling experience to even be called to this, but just to be part of and just witness the body move at such a rate that it is, we can really see the Lord working through you guys and through your prayers over us. It goes farther than what we can put into words, but we are so grateful for you guys. Thank you.
Where's my Zipper Club peeps at? Zipper clubs? Zipper clubs? There he is. There he is. I'm telling you what, it's just remarkable how the Lord does things in our lives that connects us in ways that we never thought imaginable. And this is, again, like she was saying, it's so deep. It's so much more than just here. So with that said, we've got 3 minutes maybe. If there's anybody that has a question, we'd love to answer that. If anybody has a comment, anything else that they would like to add. Otherwise, we'll turn things right back over to Joe. Okay. Hey, here's a plug for the men's conference that's going in March. I'm really excited about that. I got invited to go to that with you guys, and I look forward to fellowshipping with some of you guys who are going to be on that trip, I think, to South Carolina. So thank you so much for all you do, Joe.
Thank you.
If you cannot see the passion that Chris and Amanda have, I don't know what you saw there. But I just want to say this. You saw all of that, and one thing that blesses me more than they will ever know is their faithfulness to serve God. They had obstacle after obstacle after obstacle over and over again, but you see they're still so excited about it. And I'm privileged and honored to be part of Sherry. You guys, we have Sherry Couch, Scotty Blackburn, and myself that do. Guys, you can come on if y'all want to, as y'all are the offering plates. We serve on the board there, and we are very blessed and honored to be a part of that. And guys, we are going, Brother Sam, February 24th and 25th. Is that right? We're going to paint. And I want any of you to go. We're going to paint that top level. That is the next step in the remodel. And so that is part of what we're doing. Sam and Dale and others have felt truly convicted and feel like that's what God is calling us to do. And so that's what we're going to do. And so we will be going up there. We'll be taking anybody and everyone that wants to go. And we're very excited about that to see, you don't have to be a professional painter, okay? Trust me, there are people that will tell you, all right, if you're doing it wrong, all right? Trust me, it's okay. I don't know how to paint, but I go, all right? And we can learn together, amen? So you try to make plans for that. It's a Friday and a Saturday, and we're going to just try to be a part of God's kingdom work, okay? Without further ado, ushers, if you want to come on down and collect, we'll do that. I don't know how we want to do this. Let's pray over the offering and pray over everything, and then y'all can sit and we can dismiss from there, okay? How about that? All right? Father, thank you, Lord, for just Chris and Amanda coming today. Father, I just thank you for just their willingness to come. And God, just their obedience to your call upon their lives. God, they have faced so many obstacles spiritually, physically, with Brother Chris and his heart. But God, I just see your faithfulness in it. God, I thank you for them. I truly thank you for them and their love for you, their love for Springs of Life, their just passion for, as they talked about, just restoring the camp as it was, to be a part of the history. And God, I pray you just bless their efforts, Lord. And God, whatever we need to do as a church, God, I pray that you would help us to do that. So, Father, thank you so much. Now, Father, forgive us where we fail you. And Lord, as we go upon your the 10 o'clock hour, God, Father, bless Pruitt as he will lead in worship. God, bless my pastor, Lord, as he will bring your word to us, Lord. Stir in our hearts to be challenged, to be moved by your word. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.